You always know where you are. Not because you figured it out. Because your phone told you. You open an app, a blue dot appears, and the world arranges itself around you. You have never been truly lost. Not really. Not in the way your ancestors were lost, or more accurately, in the way they were never lost at all. For roughly 300,000 years, your species moved across the surface of this planet without a single map. No GPS. No road signs. No written directions, and yet, they navigated thousands of miles of open savanna, crossed mountain ranges, tracked coastlines, found water sources buried beneath dry riverbeds, and returned home, sometimes after years away, with an accuracy that modern researchers still struggle to fully explain. How did they do it? The answer is not one thing. It is a system. A living, breathing, deeply human system that your brain still carries the blueprint for, even if you have never once used it. Start with the stars. On a clear night in East Africa, 70,000 years ago, you could see roughly 5,000 stars with the naked eye. No light pollution. No haze. Just the full, unfiltered sky. And your ancestors learned to read it the way you read a clock. Certain stars rose and set at predictable points on the horizon. The Southern Cross, visible across much of the southern hemisphere, could be used to locate true south. Researchers studying the Khoisan people of southern Africa, one of the oldest continuous cultures on Earth, have documented star-based navigation systems that likely stretch back tens of thousands of years. Polaris, the North Star, anchors the northern sky. But even stars that move across the night can reveal direction if you know how to watch them arc. But stars only work at night. And they disappear behind clouds. So your ancestors layered other systems on top. They read the sun, not just its position, but the quality of its light, the angle of its shadows, how those shadows moved through the day. They noticed which side of trees grew more moss. They felt prevailing winds on their skin and tracked which direction those winds came from in each season. They read the land itself. The shape of a ridge. The way a valley curved. The color of the soil where water pooled in the wet season, leaving mineral traces long after it dried. This is what researchers call landscape memory, and it is extraordinarily deep. Robin Wall Kimmerer, a botanist and member of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation, has written about the way indigenous knowledge systems encode detailed environmental information into language itself, the names of plants, the stories attached to specific places, the seasonal songs that remind communities when to move and where. This is not metaphor. It is a mnemonic navigation system embedded into culture. The Australian Aboriginal peoples developed what many scholars consider the most sophisticated non-written navigation technology in human history, the song line. A song line is a path across the landscape encoded as a song. Every verse describes a landmark, a rock formation, a river bend, a type of tree, a sacred site. By singing the song in the correct order, a person could navigate hundreds of miles of desert they had never physically walked, as long as they knew the song. Researchers at the Australian National University, including anthropologist Philip Clark, have documented how these systems allowed communities to move across a continent for at least 50,000 years with extraordinary precision. The land was the map. The song was the key. So let us reconstruct a day. You are a young adult, somewhere in what is now northern Tanzania, around 40,000 years ago. It is early morning, just after sunrise. You are traveling with 3 others to a region where your grandmother's mother once said there was a spring that never ran dry, even in the dry season. You have never been there yourself, but you know the landmarks. Walk toward the 2 hills that look like sleeping animals until the sun is directly overhead, then turn to where the wind comes from in the cold season, until you smell the fever trees, tall, flat-topped acacias with yellow-green bark that grow near permanent water. You also know a song. For short verses, each describing what you will see next. You sing it softly as you walk, not for entertainment, but for accuracy. The song is older than anyone you know. It was old when your grandmother learned it. And it will bring you to the spring. This kind of knowledge transfer was the original human internet, a peer-to-peer network of embodied information, passed from body to body, voice to voice, generation to generation. And it was staggeringly reliable. Archaeological evidence from sites like Pinnacle Point in South Africa, excavated by researcher Curtis Marian and his team, shows that coastal communities returned to the same shoreline locations repeatedly over more than 100,000 years. They were not wandering. They were navigating, returning with intention to places they knew held shellfish, fresh water, seasonal plants, and shelter. Here is the counterintuitive part. Your ancestors were not navigating despite the absence of maps. In some ways, they were navigating better because of it. A map is an abstraction. It reduces the living, breathing landscape into a flat symbol. It tells you where to go, but it does not teach you to read the land. Your ancestors had no abstraction between themselves and the world. They were inside the information, not looking at it from above. Every feature of the landscape was meaningful, not decoratively, but functionally. A particular bird call could mean water nearby. The direction termites built their mounds could indicate north in certain regions. The behavior of your dog, your horses, your cattle, could alert you to terrain changes ahead. Anthropologist James Sussman, who spent years living with the Jew/Hoansi Bushmen of the Kalahari, one of the few communities that maintained a hunter-gatherer lifestyle into the modern era, described their spatial awareness as something almost incomprehensible by modern standards. Adults could return unerringly to a small waterhole they had visited once, a decade earlier, across a landscape that looked featureless to outsiders. They had not memorized it. They had paid attention to it. Deeply, completely, and continuously, in a way that our screen-saturated, GPS-dependent minds rarely do anymore. And that is the mirror your ancestors hold up to you today. Your brain is not weaker than theirs. The hardware is identical. The difference is practice. The difference is attention. You have outsourced your spatial memory to a device, and like any unused capacity, it has grown quieter. Research by neuroscientist Eleanor Maguire at University College London showed that London taxi drivers, who spent years memorizing the city's streets before GPS, had measurably larger hippocampi, the brain region most associated with spatial navigation, than non-drivers. The brain responds to use. It always has. Your ancestors knew where they were because they paid attention to where they were. All the time. Without interruption. The world was not background noise. It was the text they were reading, constantly, carefully, and with their whole bodies. Every sunrise was a compass check. Every tree was a landmark. Every song was a map. You still have that brain. You wake up every morning and your phone tells you where you are. For 300,000 years, you already knew.